Okay, so let's see here. Everybody let me know if you can see this. Give me a 1 if you can see everything okay, that you can hear me okay. If you can see everything okay. Give me a 1 if you can hear everything okay. Give me a 2. Can you guys see that? It's turned around. How do I change the landscape, Amanda? So it's not reading backwards. See what I'm saying? Say hi to everybody. Hey, what's everybody? So my fan page, what's going on? I'm about to do my SEC West preview and breakdown. Oh, you've got to turn around. There you go. Now we're thinking. I won't be able to see the comments, but that's okay. So can everyone see okay?
Here.
Okay, let's see here. Alright, I think we're good. I think we're ready to go. So I'm breaking down the SEC West. Like last time I broke down the SEC East. I've got Florida winning the East. Popular pick is definitely Georgia. Some people are picking Florida. I picked Florida for a few reasons. I like Jim McElwain. Also, I like Jim McElwain as a head coach. I like Randy Cannon as the coordinator. And I like the way their schedule sets up for them. They got a big game to start the season with Michigan. A lot of people are asking about, what about the suspension and losing some players. I think they're faster. I think speed wins. It's going to be down in Arlington, Texas. It's going to be hot. I think Florida has the guys. I like Jim McElwain as a coach. If you want to talk about who Florida's not going to have in that game, I can talk about the inexperience that Michigan's going to have. So I think they win that game. They build some momentum. I believe they're going to win 6 or 7 in a row after that. And when they go into the cocktail party on October 28th, they could easily be, I think, around 7-0, maybe 6-1 at worst. They win that game. The winner of that game wins the East. I have Florida. So in the West, we'll start at the bottom. We'll work our way up. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what most people are saying. The consensus has the West like this. Number 7, Ole Miss. Number 6, Texas A&M. Number 5, Mississippi State. Number 4, Arkansas. 3, LSU. 2, Auburn. And 1, Alabama. I disagree. I disagree with most of that. Around the middle, I agree with some of that. 7, having Ole Miss at 7, purely based off, I guess, what's going on with Q3s and all that. I think that they're a little crazy. I don't think that they'll make it into the top 3. But at 7, I most definitely have Texas A&M, and I'm very confident in that pick. I just don't think that Texas A&M can get it done. So I've got Texas A&M. I'm about to tell you why. So, Texas A&M brings in the bottom in the SEC West. On offense, they've got question marks literally everywhere. I mean, they've got question marks everywhere. With the exception of they got a wide receiver, I believe his name's Christian Kirk. He's back. That's a bright spot. But on offense, they've got question marks everywhere. So, going into a season where you have a question with quarterback, you have a question in the backfield, the offensive line has always been a little shaky since they joined the SEC, I believe 5 or 6 years ago. On defense, they lost their best best pass rusher in Myles Garrett. So I don't know how they're going to replace him. They lost him to the league. They've always struggled year in and year out stopping the run. And in the SEC, that's so important to stop the run. Now, they've done well. I think they finished 8-5 last year. I believe they usually finish around 8-4, 8-5, 7-5. Usually get 7 or 8 wins. This year, Kevin Sumlin, the head coach, is definitely on the hot seat. He's definitely on the hot seat, and I think that he will be fired at the end of the year after the season that they have. Overall, to summarize Texas A&M, it just comes down to the schedule. And when I look at their schedule, I have games circled, and lot of games circled. I've got them opening at UCLA in a revenge spot, and they lose that game. I believe UCLA wins. I believe Texas A&M won in overtime last year. I believe UCLA will beat them in the home in UCLA's home opener. Then they win a couple games against a couple nobodies in non-conference, and then it gets really tough. Man, they have four straight against Arkansas, South Carolina, Alabama, and at Florida, back to back to back. I see them going 0-4 in those games, at best 1-3. They come home, they get their one win in the SEC West that I have them getting, and they may not even get that, and that's against Mississippi State. And after that, I have them losing 3 out of the next 4 against Auburn, at Ole Miss, and at LSU. The win is coming against, I believe, a nobody, and I have them finishing 4-8 and 1-7. So Texas A&M finishes dead last in the SEC West. Some people have them picked or tied. I've seen 4 or 5. I don't see it. I think Kevin Sumlin's going to have a hard time this year opening the win. I have them getting 1 SEC win. That, and I believe their home finale against NC State, I believe. And they may not even get that. They could very easily go 3-9 or 0-8. I would be shocked if they got to 6-6. Can it happen? Yes, it can happen. Do I think it'll happen? No, I don't. At 6, and this one will surprise probably a lot of people. At 6, I got Mississippi State Bulldogs. I've got Mississippi State Bulldogs finishing 6th in the SEC West. And I understand that may raise some eyebrows. But I have reasons. They've got 6 returning on offense. They've got 4 coming back on defense. On offense, the glaring problem that sticks out to me is definitely up front, man. On the offensive line. The problem started. The problems up front really started in Dak's senior year. Dak Prescott's senior year. He's now in the NFL. And it continued to get worse last year. And then they lost, I believe, 3 of the 5 from last year. So they started having some problems up front where they kind of dominated when Dak was a junior, sophomore, freshman, sophomore, and junior. They kind of dominated, started to fall off, started to create some problems. Dak was hitting the ground a lot, getting hit a lot. It carried over into next year, into last year. And I think it'll continue this year, considering they lost 3 of those 5 guys that were on the team last year. Let's see here. And in SEC play, when you've got questions up front, that makes it likely for the quarterback to end up getting hurt. I do like Nick Fitzgerald, who is the quarterback. I believe he's a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. He returns. He's a dual threat guy, and he's definitely a threat to run. I think he had like 7 or 8 games where he rushed for over 100 yards. So he adds to that other dimension where he's a threat to pass or throw, which is good. They play Alabama at home this year, and if there's one thing that has been an Achilles heel for Alabama, if you're going to beat them, you have a dual threat quarterback. That has been Clemson, for example, with Deshaun Watson, that he was unstoppable. So I do like him. I just don't know if he can make it through a whole season with what they have up front. As far as running backs go, and as far as before I go into running backs, as backup they've got a guy. I don't know anything about him. Keon Thompson. Don't know anything about him. He's a freshman, so they're not very deep at the quarterback position. If Fitzgerald does get hurt, he is Keon Thompson. I don't know anything about him. He may be good. Maybe somebody does know some stuff about him. I don't personally know too much about him. If he gets thrown into a role because Fitzgerald gets hurt and does run a lot, that will really trouble the Bulldogs. They do have a new defensive coordinator. That's, I believe, 4 years since Mullen's been there, and 4 new DCs. Every year they've had to go out and get a new defensive coordinator, change just tough, man. I feel like it's going to be kind of a fall off year for them. On that side, it's just a lot of they have some talent, but it's just young, unproven talent. When you're talking about SEC football, young, unproven talent is not. It's hard for me to put them on the top half of this side of the conference, much less have them in the top game. Let's see here. My final analysis, I do have them up and enough. The September 9th game that they have at Louisiana Tech could end up being a very big game. I do have them starting 2-0. I do have them beating my Tech, but I would not be surprised at all if Louisiana Tech on Conference USA pulled the upset. Now, it isn't Starkville, I believe. But watch out. That could be an upset. I do think they get past them. And then after that, it's pretty much over for them as far as the season goes. They go to LSU, then they go to Georgia, and they go to Auburn. So they're at LSU, at Georgia, at Auburn. They definitely lose all those games. They will not play an upset. They won't go on the road to beat any of those three. They come home to play really a toss-up game, in my opinion, against who is now independent, BYU, who they were in the Mountain West. They're tough. I think they'll probably be around the top 25 on here. That's at home in Starkville, but that's really a toss-up game. I would not be surprised at all if BYU beats them. I have to beat BYU, but I wouldn't be surprised if another game. So it's two games, Why Tech and BYU, that I can see going either way. I have them going 2-0 in those games. If they were 1-1, I wouldn't be surprised. They come home, play BYU, and then I have them beat Kentucky, and then they finish out at A&M, which they have them winning, and then they lose to Bama, and then at Arkansas, and then Ole Miss to finish it out, and then I think they have a game against UMass somewhere in there at the end of the year, which is a win. Good for 6-6 and 2-6. But like I said, man, don't be surprised if Mississippi State, who people are talking a lot about, actually have picked Mississippi State is picked by most to finish in the 4 or 5 spot. I have them in the 6 spot. But don't be surprised if they finish 5 or 7 or even 4 and 8 if they lose the BYU game, maybe drop one to somebody in the Mississippi. So we got Mississippi State 6-6, 2-6, I believe. Got that right in my notes today. 6-6, 2-6. That may raise some eyebrows, and that's kind of what I like, because if it comes to fruition and it ends up being true, that makes me look good. If it doesn't, well, then it doesn't. It happens. Your officers is take a look, use the system that I've always used to break games down to make looking at rosters to be set, looking at coaching changes, looking at coaches they have in place, looking at their bench spots in the schedule, looking at possible big wins and then letdown spots. I have a whole formula system that I use when I look at the games prior to the season starting to come up with this. I'm gonna keep opening up again. Number 5, I've got Arkansas Razorbacks. I know Jacob Thomas is not going to like that pick. But at number 5, I've got Arkansas. Big Stewie, Razorbacks. Woo! The most annoying Kansas Cowboys in SEC football. So on Arkansas, for Arkansas, they return 7 on offense. They return 5 on defense. On offense, I really like their quarterback, Austin Allen. He returns. At quarterback, they've definitely got one of the best 1-2 punches as far as the ground game goes, with running back Raleigh Williams and Devois Whaley, I believe. I think that's right. Devois Whaley. He backs them up. Raleigh Williams is going to be really good. He showed me a lot last year. Up front, Arkansas usually always gets it done. They're always big. Brett Bielema has never had a problem with putting an could be wrong. Maybe there's somebody that I don't know about. But I don't see. I see a big hole there. Outside of Jared Cornelius, I don't know. I don't recognize any of the names. I don't really. It's a lot of unproven guys. I've heard that they've got a bunch of like young guys, like a slew of like freshmen and I think sophomores. But that being said, be looking for them to be like a run heavy. Really relying on running the ball, controlling the clock, and I want to say hope that the defense wins, but I don't think Arkansas can rely on their defense to win games. That's kind of why I have them finishing sixth. On D, their front seven super young. They were the worst last year in the FBS in rushing touchdowns. I believe they allowed 37 touchdowns on the ground, or 39 touchdowns on the ground. Good for dead last in the FBS, not in the SEC, and all of college football. So that's very scary when your front seven is young, and you were the worst last year in allowing rushing touchdowns. They've got 3 sophomores starting in the front seven. They've only got 1 senior starting in the front seven. And on top of that, they don't have any depth at linebackers. I think the linebackers aren't really concerned if they stay healthy. But, I mean, injuries happen in the SEC. You have to make that as part. You have to bring that into play, and that has to be part of the discussion when you're doing predictions and breaking down games and what teams are going to do. You have to consider in the SEC, it's so physical and so tough. Injuries always happen, and they've got some linebackers, but they just don't have a lot of depth. The bright spot on the defense is in the secondary. And, when that's the right part of the defense, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad. It's the last line of defense. They're the guys making all the tackles. They're probably not going to have a very good season. I don't know. I just don't see them. I've heard people talk, say Arkansas could be 8-4. In here they've got them 7-5. I'm not too far off of that. As a matter of fact, I think I have them 7-5 as well. I just don't have them doing as good in the SEC. So Arkansas goes back to the bowl. I do have them finishing 7-5, and then 3-5 in the SEC. Can everyone see that? 3-5 in the SEC. Final analysis, real quick on Arkansas. I have them coming out of the gate strong. I have them coming out 4-0. They could lose that TCU game. I don't know. That's a tough one. TCU's going to be good this year. I mean, they're going to be a tough play. They may not go 9-3 or 10-2, but they could be one of the best 7-5 or 8-4 teams that you see, where they're competitive in every game. So that game's kind of an up in the air game. I have them going 4-0 and beating them at worst 3-1. Then they get the bubble burst. If they do come out of the gate 4-0, this is what they have after that. And I've got them losing 5 of the next 6 because they've got at South Carolina, they've got at Alabama, they come home to play Auburn, they play at Ole Miss. I have them getting a win against Coastal Carolina. I don't know if that's at the Rock or not, but I have them getting a win at Coastal Carolina, and then they go to LSU. So they come out of the gate 4-0, maybe 3-1 if they lose to TCU. But then they go at South Carolina, at Bama, Auburn at home, at Ole Miss. They come home to beat Coastal Carolina, and then they go to LSU. That's absolutely brutal. At best, they go 2-4, probably 1-5 in that little stretch, and that's why I have them finishing 7-5, 3-5 with 4 of their wins coming out of conference, and that's me giving them a win against TCU, which could easily go the other way and they could end up 6-6. Now this is the one that everybody's going to love because most people are picking them dead last in the SEC. At number 4, I've got the Ole Miss Rebels. And everybody's probably thinking this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. If anybody's watching, I don't know if anybody's in here watching. If you are, that number may go down. Because most people are picking Ole Miss to finish dead last or 6th. Because of everything that's going on there, Hugh Freeze, all the allegations, losing some players. But I look at their schedule. I know that there's talent still there. And I'm going to tell you why I believe they'll finish fourth. They got fourth. They got 5 back on offense. They've got 6 back on defense. On offense, I expect huge things from the quarterback, man, Shea Patterson. He's a sophomore. He was, I believe, the best quarterback in the class of 2016, if I'm not mistaken. They were planning on putting a red shirt on him last year, but when Chad Kelly went down, he got some good experience. He got to come in and play. They had a disappointing season. I think they went 5-7, but he got some experience, and I expect him to do big things. And he's got a great he's got a great cast around him. I know they've only got 6 coming back on offense, or 5 coming back on offense, but they've got 4 returning starters on the line. And then at wide receiver, they are so deep at wide receiver, and I'm talking big, strong, kind of young but big and strong guys. A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf are 2 of those guys who are big, strong wide receivers. They also have a very good running back. If I'm not mistaken, from my alma mater at St. Benedict, Jordan Wilkins. He's going to be a senior running back. And then they've got Eric Swinney, who's really going to be really good, backing him up. That'll provide a good 1-2 punch. I believe he was like a top 5 running back coming out in class of 2015. So he'll be a sophomore to complement the senior in Jordan Wilkins. On defense, I expect them to improve with a lot of key returning people. Most importantly, which was very huge for them and surprising to me, was when Marcus Haynes decided to come back, their defensive end. That is very big for them. Not only is he a hell of a football player, not only does he put pressure on the quarterback, but he's a leader. He's a leader on that side of the ball, and he's going to help that front 4 come along nice. In the secondary, they've got Miles Hartfield, that was a safety last year. They moved him over to corner, and I saw some of the spring game, and he looked really good, man. He was locking some of those wide receivers that I just talked about. He was locking them down. So they moved Miles Hartfield to cornerback, and then they've got Ken Webster, who was also, I think, a senior, returning after missing 2016. So you've got those 2 guys on the outside at corner that can, match up man-to-man with just about anybody. So that's a good part. At linebacker, that's where there's a little concern. There's a lot of unsureness there. I don't know, as far as depth goes, I'm not really sure if they have the bodies, if they do experience injuries, to plug in. But they will be led by Marquise Gates, who is a returning starter. I believe he's, if not a 5th-year senior, he's a senior. I believe he's a 5th-year senior. I think he had a red shirt. But he'll lead the group of linebackers. So they've got a leader up front. They've got a leader in the second line of defensive linebacker, and Marquise Gates, and then they've got Marquise Haynes on the end, and then on the 2 corners, they've got 2 lockdown guys, 1 move from safety. So their defense should be okay. If they can stay healthy at linebacker, that will help. To summarize Ole Miss, everyone's been talking about the same thing, and I love it because I like interim head coach Matt Luke, the guy that they hired as the interim. He's got the players' attention. He's a Navy guy. He's a no-nonsense guy. You're going to play hard every down. And, after everything came out in the media about Hugh Freeze and everything, all those players showed up the next morning at 6 a.m. for workout, upbeat, ready to go. They know they're not going to a bowl. They know that they only get 12 games. They have come out and said they would rather play hard for 12 games than hope for one exhibition game, They're going to come out, they're going to play, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder, and there's definitely still talent on the team. Don't count Ole Miss out. Do I think they finish higher than 4th? I do not. Could they end up down here in the 5th area? Yeah, but I don't see them finishing in 7th in the 7th or the 6th place. I'm going to go against what literally everyone else is saying, purely based off looking at their schedule and looking at what they got coming back. As far as the schedule goes, I've got them open in 3-0. That they're going to beat Cal on the road. I don't think Cal, looking at the Pac-12, Cal is not going to be very good this year. I think I have them on the bottom, like second to last on their side. I know that's a long road game for Ole Miss, but they open up with 2 pretty easy games. I have them beating Cal, so they start out the year 3-0, and then they hit a tough spot because they go to Bama, to Auburn. So they're sitting at 3-2 now. Man, that's tough, going to Alabama and to Auburn back-to-back. But if they can stay healthy, if they can just get out of those 2 games with the losses but unscathed, like without too many injuries and not too banged up, they come home and they win 2 of the next 3 against Vandy, LSU, and Arkansas. Obviously, the loss will be to LSU. And so they're sitting at 5-3, and then they end the season at Kentucky, Louisiana Lafayette at home, A&M at home, and at State, at Mississippi State, where I believe I actually have them losing at State. But they have a good chance to beat Kentucky at Kentucky. They're going to beat Lafayette. They're going to beat A&M at home, and I have them finishing 7-5 and 3-5. Good for 4th. So Ole Miss would have gone back to a bowl, but they still have a respectable season. They go 3-5 in the SEC, but they finish 7-5. I don't know how people have them down here at 5-7. I've seen 1-7. I've seen 0-8 in SEC play. That's not gonna happen. Look, I know football, man. Call me a liar. If Ole Miss goes 0-8 in the SEC or 1-7, then you can say, Andrew, you were wrong all the way until the 2018 season. I give you guys permission. That's not going to happen, though. So then now we're in the SEC West. It always comes down to these 3, LSU, Alabama, Auburn. You've gotten a lot of people saying Auburn. You've got a lot of people saying Alabama. But what about that 3rd spot? I know who I have number 1. You know, if it's not broke, why fix it? You know, I know who I have at number 1, but who's going to take that? Who's going to be in that 2nd spot? Is it going to be Auburn or is it going to be LSU? I'm probably going to surprise a lot of people with this pick as well, because most people have them definitely number 2, if not 2-1, and I've got Auburn 3. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm not going to have to get into too much detail here at the end. I spent more detail on the bad teams than I'm going to have to spend on the good teams. It's real simple, man. Here's why I have Auburn. They've got 7 back on offense, 7 back on defense. They've got Petway back, which is huge. It's huge for them. He's an excellent running back. And then Jarrett Stidham, who used to play for Baylor, then went JUCO, is now enrolled at Auburn, and he'll be the quarterback. He's going to be good as well. I could talk all day about Petway and Stidham and their offensive line, the guys that they have on offense. On defense, you cannot replace in 1 year the loss of a guy like Carl Lawson, the loss of a guy like Martavius Adams, and the loss of a guy like safety Rudy Ford. That's 3 guys they lost to the league that you just can't replace in 1 year. It takes a couple years to replace a Carl. To replace a Carl Lawson, it takes a year or 2. There's not going to be anybody that just steps in and fills those shoes. It just doesn't happen. At Bama, maybe. You know what I'm saying? At Ohio State, maybe. At Auburn, you know, it could be possible. I look at it and I don't see it. Nothing shows me that there's somebody that can fill those shoes. They do have some talent there. They do have some guys. Their defensive line will be good. I just don't think that you can replace those type of caliber players in 1 year. But they'll be good. I believe it'll be a step back from last year, which last year they could have been much better. To summarize Auburn, it's a pretty easy summary, okay? They have an absolute cake conference schedule, so they're going to win all their non-conference, but they're going to lose 3 games. At Clemson, at LSU, and at home versus Georgia or Bama. And I would pick Bama. But they're going to lose out of those 4 games at Clemson, at LSU, at home versus Georgia, or at home versus Bama. They will lose 3 of those 4 games. They will probably beat Georgia in those 4. They could maybe go 2-2 if they beat Bama in the Iron Bowl. It's not like it's impossible. But even if they do, Bama still takes number 1 in the West, even if they do. But I have them going 9-3 and 6-2.
And everybody's like, this dude just picked LSU second in the West. I know this guy didn't just pick LSU second in the West. I know this guy didn't just pick Ed Orgeron in the SEC West. Is that what everybody's saying? I don't know what everybody's saying, but I'll look after. What does Law say? FSU, first SEC lost. Here's my thing on that, Lawrence Thompson. I'm going to stop real quick before I get into LSU. When you give Nick Saban a whole spring and a whole summer to prepare for a football team, you're going to lose, man. That team's going to lose. I love Francois. I love Florida State. I have Florida State neck and neck with Clemson in the ACC. I believe they'll be in the top 7 all year long. But when it comes to playing Alabama, man, those boys put that Francois boy on his butt all game. Even after the whistle, they were putting him on his ass. And it's going to happen again, man. It's going to happen again this year. People are saying it's going to be a high-scoring game, like a 28-20 type of game, 31-17, 31-20. I don't think so, man. I think it's going to be more like a 21-13 type of game. I do believe Alabama will beat them by a touchdown or more. And I'm just basing that off of Nick Saban, the genius that he is, the systems that he has, the personnel that he has, and the ability and the chance that he has to prepare through the spring, through the summer, all through 2 days, the next 4 weeks leading up to kickoff. And if I'm not mistaken, it's at a neutral site. So I have them beaten. We'll get into that in a minute. Back to LSU on offense. Let's see. At offense, they've got quarterback Danny Etling returning. Now, the guy, he's a senior. He's strictly going to be a game manager. You got to remember, Ed Orgeron's a defensive-minded coach. He's definitely going to play ball control. They've got an excellent running back in Geis. They've got two really, you know what, they've really got a stable of running backs, but they've got 2 running backs in Geis, and I'm trying to think of the other guy's name. I can't think of the other guy. Darius Geis, and there's another guy, I just can't think of his name, but I believe Darius Geis will be a Heisman candidate. Actually, you know what, I know he'll be a Heisman candidate. He could possibly be the Heisman winner. He showed me a lot in what I've seen in film from him from last year. I think he'll fill Leonard Fournette's shoes, no problem. Maybe even be better. I know that might sound crazy to replace the shoes of Leonard Fournette, but he's really good. Danny Etling's going to hand him the ball, and on 3rd down, do what he needs to do to try to move the chains and not make mistakes, man. That's Ed Orgeron type football. Play defense, control the ball, give it to the beast. The guy's probably, one of the top 3 running backs in the country. They've got a really good backup. I can't think of his name right now. On D, they're always good. I think they'll be fine. Their D coordinator's good. Orgeron's their head coach. He's one of the best defensive coaches there is. I don't know about Ed Orgeron as a head coach. I'm not a big believer in him as a head coach, but I think they'll be fine on defense. And it's pretty simple to summarize. They lose at Florida and at Alabama. When I look at their schedule, I have them beating Auburn at home, and that's what has them winning the tiebreaker for second in the West. The only other loss I could see outside of at Florida or at Alabama is maybe at UT, and I doubt that. I've got UT, I think, 4th in the East, but that's one of those games, that it's in Knoxville. It doesn't really matter what UT is. I mean, it's just a tough game, man. Tennessee on the road with 106,000 fans is tough. So that's a game LSU could lose. But, I mean, I have them losing at Florida. I have them losing at Alabama. Outside of that, maybe at UT. They open with BYU. I wouldn't want to open my season in the SEC against a team like BYU. That's just asking to get upset, in a week where guys like Appalachian State knock off people. Guys like Wichita State knock off people. Northern Dakota knock off people. BYU is tough. BYU has old guys. It's a predominantly Mormon school. They've got 26, 27, 28-year-olds out there on the field. And I wouldn't want to play them in my first game. BYU will always be good. They're independent this year. But outside of that, LSU is going to beat BYU. They could lose to them. Outside of that, all I see is at Florida and at Alabama. Those are their 2 losses. and I have them going 10-2. Yeah, I have them going 10-2 and 6-2. And the tiebreaker. The tiebreaker goes to LSU because I have them beating Auburn down there in Baton Rouge, man. You know, Auburn's not going to come in there and beat them. So that's my reason on having them in the number 2 spot over Auburn, where most people have Auburn at 1 or 2. I wouldn't say it's 50-50 the consensus. I would say it's about 60-40 Alabama. As far as 60% for Alabama, 40%. There's a lot of people saying that Auburn's going to take the SEC West this year, and there's even people saying that they're going to play a Florida State or an Ohio State in the national championship. I got them finishing 3rd. I'm going against the grain. It'll pay off if I'm right. Number 1, everybody knows it. It's Alabama. Why fix it if it isn't broken? Nick Saban just reloads. I'm not going to go through a whole bunch. I'm going to go ahead and write it up here. They're going to go 12-0. And they're going to go 8-0. Period. Jalen Hurts is unreal at quarterback. He's a threat to run. He can throw it. They've got a deep threat at wide receiver with Calvin Ridley. They got an unbelievable 1-2 punch with Damian Harris and Bo Scarborough. You know, it's just Alabama, man. It's Alabama. Do I like it? I hate it, man. I hate it. I don't hate it. I dislike it. I dislike Alabama. I always have. I'm not a big fan of Alabama, but the facts are the facts, man. You know, it's Alabama football. When I look at what they have on offense with Hurts, with Damian Harris, Bo Scarborough, they got Calvin Ridley as a deep threat. Then they've got, they got a couple other guys to keep the defensive backs honest with Cam Sims and Robert Foster. They're both seniors. They've been waiting. Cam Sims and Robert Foster have literally been waiting for 3 or 4 years for Ardarius Stewart and O.J. Howard to leave, to go pro. Now they get a chance to play, and we're talking about their second and third option. What's his name? Ridley is their deep threat. So he keeps the defensive honest. They got the running backs in Scarborough, and I don't know why my mind keeps going, but and Damian Harris with the 1-2 punch. They've probably got 3 other guys behind them. Actually, I know they do. The running back, they got a stable of running backs. So they're loaded on offense. On defense, they lost a lot to the NFL. But what year does Alabama not lose a lot to the NFL? You know, they lose guys to the NFL every year. They plug new guys in. By game 3, we'll be talking about some guys that we don't know a whole lot about today. But come September, let's say 16th, September 23rd, we'll be talking about 2 or 3 guys on that defense that were knocking Francois on his butt and that are just beasts, man. That's what he does. Saban locks and reloads. They did lose a lot, but that'll be a distant memory by game 3. To summarize Alabama, real quick, they have a huge game kicking off the year against the Noles. But like I said, like I stopped and told my buddy Law, who's a big Seminoles fan, and I do want to say this, I believe the Seminoles have a very good team this year. I'll be breaking down the ACC here in a couple days. I think they'll be good. But when you give Nick Saban 6 months to prepare, you really don't have a shot. I think it's going to be the same thing as last year. I think it's going to be a defensive struggle. I believe it was like 19-13 last year. But they're going to put pressure on the edge. They're going to bring pressure up the middle. They're going to hit him whether he gets the ball away or not. He's going to get hit. He's going to get put on his butt. One thing I respect about Francois is he got up. He's tough. But one or 2 mistakes, they'll capitalize, and I have them beating Florida State to open up. Let's see here. Then when we got that, basically, kicks off the year. After that, I really don't see a potential loss until November 4th. When I look at Alabama's schedule after the Florida State game, I don't see a potential loss until November 4th, and that's where they play LSU, but it's at home. They got LSU at home. Bama beats LSU at home, and then they end at Auburn in the Iron Bowl, where I have them winning and going 12-0 and 8-0, even if they don't beat Auburn. Say Auburn wins the Iron Bowl, and Auburn is 10-2, and that would put them at 7-1. That might change a lot, actually, because that would put them both at 7-1, and Auburn at. You know what? I'm going to challenge and go into that. Alabama's going to go to Auburn. They're going to beat them. They're going to go 12-0, 8-0. They will play. I haven't made a decision on who they're going to play. Everybody's counting Clemson out this year. Clemson's going to be good. We'll talk about Clemson another day. That's my SEC West wrap-up for the day. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I want to give some shout-outs real quick. Let's see here. Let me give some shout-outs real quick. I got to turn it around. Hey, everybody, on my fan page, thank you so much for watching. I will be back in a couple days, most likely Thursday morning, maybe Wednesday night late, or Thursday morning to afternoon with my, I think I'm going to go ACC next. So thank you guys for watching, and I will be back either Wednesday night or Thursday. I'll make a post. Peace. Take care.